Today's guest is one of my favorite people to follow, maybe top 3 people to follow on Instagram. He's an astrologer, intuitive freaking genius, and a fellow Canadian Gemini. So obviously we bonded. And he came all the way from Portugal to Nashville just for me, for this podcast. We get into all things astrology and how we can use it to prepare ourselves for different stages of our life. It's actually quite magical. And I think you'll learn a lot. I listened back and was like, wait, I didn't even know I needed the message that he was giving me at the time until I listened back. So take it for what it is. Enjoy. Thank you for coming to Nashville.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not Canadian, are you?
I am.
You
You're
are
also Canadian, right? I know. Canadian girlies.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
just a couple Canadian girlies on the pod. Wait, where are you from?
I'm from Ontario.
Okay.
Which is, obviously, you know where that
Yeah.
is. But like Toronto,
Yeah.
like an hour west.
Yeah.
I grew up in Ancaster. Where did you grow up?
Leduc, Alberta.
Okay, I have no idea what that is.
It's basically the Edmonton airport.
Oh, okay.
So it's just outside of Edmonton and it's
How was that?
adorable.
Oh, yeah, it sounds cute.
It was cute. Looking back, I'm like, oh, I love that it was just this little shitty town.
Right.
And really not a lot to do except for use your imagination. And
Right?
yeah, I grew up figure skating and dancing, and I don't know, it was just a fun small town that I love people who are from small towns. I feel like they just have a vibe.
They do. Ancaster was, especially when I was growing up, definitely a small town.
Yeah.
And over time, it's like grown because it's a beautiful little spot.
Yeah.
But I also grew up dancing.
You did?
Yeah, dancing, theater, like all of that shit. I
too.
love it.
Me too. I was the fiddler on the roof once.
Oh, what?
Yeah. I had to like put my hair up in a cap and look like a boy and then fake play the violin while the orchestra played it for me.
Oh, no.
Violin, fiddle, obviously. And one time the lights were all out and it was the night that I decided to invite the boy I had a crush on.
Okay.
And a bunch of family and friends were there. And the lights come on and I wasn't on the roof yet. And I was like halfway up and my leg was like on top of the roof, but I hadn't, and I was like pulling myself up and everybody was laughing.
That sounds traumatizing.
It actually was, but you know what's even worse is I embarrassed myself again for the second time because I wanted to be on stage for a long time and I was supposed to run off stage because this fight scene breaks out and I was supposed to run off stage, but I was like, well, I want to stay on stage longer, so I'm going to take the long way around. I got in the middle, got pushed, and I face planted.
No.
The same night.
Oh, that is so embarrassing for you. I'm so sorry.
And I don't get embarrassed easily, and that like still haunts me to this day of like probably being the most embarrassing thing that's happened to me.
Well, now you have a Dancing with the Stars trophy right there, so jokes on them.
Jokes on them.
Right?
That's true. Do you see that in the bottom of my mirror there? There's a...
Oh, yeah, the disco ball photo with the dog.
So I put that in my mirror before I even went on Dancing with the Stars. Like
just like a vision board thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, that works. Like when I tell people to like visualize and to like, there's a whole other level of like feeling the emotion to like draw it in magnetically, but like just having it to look at all the time is key. This house, by the way, is so beautiful.
Thank you.
Is this like, this is your house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I bought it 7 years ago, and I've really turned the beat around in here because these
Turn the beat around. Oh my God.
It used to be like all brown.
Oh, no, this is not brown. This is great.
Thank you.
And even like just when I was driving in, it's almost like a gated community or something. I was like, oh, this is you also sending me like a Beyonce black SUV. I was just like, excuse me. Like I sent to Danny a message. I was like, this bitch knows what's up.
Yeah.
Like she knows how to, yeah.
See, Alicia, did you hear that? He said, I felt like I was Beyonce in a black car. Like, she knows what's up. I'm like, I told Alicia, I was like, you got to get him a black car. That's like the professional thing to do.
It's so funny. I was like literally peeing like moments before I ran out. And I was like, I'll make you bet there's going to be a giant black SUV out there. And I walked out. I was like, there we go. I'm thinking like, don't pick me up with the Four Seasons in like a
minivan
cat hair Toyota. You know, I was like, I'm the worst. I always get the worst Ubers, and I take Uber all the time, and I tip well, and I'm like, I have a high rating too as like a Uber.
What is your rating?
Oh, true. Should we compare?
Yeah, let's compare Uber
4.7, which is not
4.7. No, you've got it 4.7 in 0.
In 0. What? No, it's out of 5. 5 stars.
Yeah,
and my rating is 4.7.
Well, I'm confused.
Oh, wait. Am I confused?
Well, mine's 4.85.
Oh. And mine's just 4.70 then, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So I win.
Wait, how do you get? Is it because you're cute or like what is? They're probably like she's a celebrity, so we'll give her 5. Like what?
I don't know.
I've never thrown up. I don't like fart in the back. Like
I know. I always wonder what it is. I'm like, what? Well, my brain goes, why do I not have a 5? Why do I not have a 5-star rating?
True. You know what? I bet it's because I'm that person who like never talks. Like I'm so
me either
talkative and like I'm quite like charismatic and like and if you get me in the right setting or like if I'm with people that I trust, like I'm like I never shut up. But then it's like you put me in a group of people that I don't know and I sit there like I'm like I get so shut down. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's social anxiety. Oh, I'm 4.72. Okay. So creeping on up on you. Coming for you.
I was at 4.87 once, and I was like, how did I get docked 2 points? Like, I make sure I don't slam the doors. I make sure I'm, like, friendly. I make sure I'm just, like, if they're, like, going a certain way and my ways says something else,
you just
I'm
let
like...
them choose their own adventure?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, fine.
I did one time. I was like, oh, you should go left here. And they were like, oh, okay, fine. And they went left. When I tell you we hit a traffic jam for 40 minutes, the guy was looking at me in the mirror. Actually, true. That's probably why I'm a 4.72. It was like that guy 2 years ago.
Now we found the reason.
Cracked the code. Got it.
We got to the root of the issue there.
So anyways, thank you for the nice Uber.
Oh, you're so welcome. You are Beyonce to me. I was just telling somebody on the phone earlier today, you're one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. It's I mean, I don't know sign language, and you doing it somehow makes me more engaged with what you're saying.
It is a little like
captivating.
Yes. Yeah, like I get a lot of people who are like, at first I didn't know what you were doing. And some people, oh my God, so embarrassing for some people. They'll be like, chill with the hands. Like, you don't have to be so dramatic. And I'm like, if you can't understand that this is sign language, I don't know what to tell you. Like, seriously? And like, this doesn't look like I'm just...
Yeah,
like,
you're not just throwing your hands
Italian.
around.
It's like, oh my God.
That's embarrassing for them.
So embarrassing. But it is captivating and it adds another level of like storytelling, which I love because I'm a Gemini, which is like the storyteller. And it's just... Like I said, I grew up dancing and I was in theater and all this stuff. So like, I really love the playfulness of the sign language and just how it visually present. Like, it's just beautiful. It really is a cool language.
It really is. And we should probably acknowledge and thank the ASL interpreter that's going to do this podcast.
Yeah.
What made you get into
sign language?
Yeah.
So long story short, in high school, we had a couple deaf students.
Yeah.
And their interpreter set up a sign language club. So I was always kind of just like trying my best. And then my friend was like, oh, they just started a sign language club. Shout out to Alex Springer. And she was like, let's go. Like, we can learn language. We can talk to them. We can also have like a secret language. Nobody knows. We can cheat on tests. I'm like, bitch, I'm down. So I was like, I sign up. And then I just like excelled at it. I picked it up really easily. I loved it. I then did some placements and I played all through high school. With the language, with learning it. And then I went to George Brown College in Toronto and I did a 3-year program there. I failed one semester, so keep going. And then, I graduated. There was like 7 of us that graduated out of like 35.
Wow.
Like 400 go to the screening and only 30 get in. Like, it's a really intense, crazy program. And then I graduated and I worked professionally as an American Sign Language interpreter for the deaf community for like 12 years or 10 years or something like that. Yeah.
Wow. And then were you always intuitive and into astrology, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so when I was probably like 13 or 14, I bought a tarot deck just because I remember seeing it and being like, weird, I want one of those. So I grabbed it. And then I remember playing with it and I saw like the death card and I was like, ugh, and I like stopped and I was like, oh my God, put it away. So that just kind of happened like that. And then I kind of circled back to it later. But prior to that, I grew up in a really haunted house. And oh my God, like I would see kids, I would see people. I walked through a man, and then when communicating that to people, and this is how we all kind of get so disconnected from our true selves and our gifts and everything. When you start talking to your parents and talking to your teachers and talking to people, but everyone's like, you're crazy. You're not seeing things. Shut up. There's no boogeyman. There's no one in the window. And I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm crazy. And it's like, I'm actually not crazy. You're all crazy. It's like, I'm real clear. So I just like, I grew up seeing ghosts. I sort of fell into astrology after the tarot really started taking off. And all of that was after this really intense, like, dark night of the soul that I went through in college, which was like, oh my God, probably a 3 or 4 year process, which was wild. And I was like really into drugs, really into drinking, like sex, just party, like everything. I like definitely had like full-blown addictive tendencies.
Totally.
So yeah, like through that, I went to get help, and I met Dawn, who is my mentor, who's this like 70-year-old gay psychic wizard. And I started doing sessions with him twice a week for like 2 years. And he just like opened me up psychically. And every time I would do a reading or I would talk or I'd pick something up, he would always just be looking at me like, you're good.
Oh, really?
It's like, oh, thanks. And then, yeah, that was like just the response from people as I'm pulling cards for friends and family. And then I started charging for it. And then I took it online. And then the pandemic like literally went from, oh my God, like 3,000 to like 100,000, like in 60 days.
Holy.
And then from there, it's just been like nonstop. I also was like, it was when IGTV was competing with YouTube.
Yep.
So like the extended video content like was really working in my favor.
Of course.
And it's good content.
Right.
So it was just the perfect storm. And now the algorithms changed and we still have, we still grow, but it's like a different game.
It really is a whole other world now with the algorithm and shit. It stresses me out. You really are, the word I keep thinking is captivating. You really are captivating. And
thanks.
you obviously probably have such a unique community too, because you attract so many different types of audiences. But I feel like astrology and kind of like people wanting to learn more about who they are is such a thing now, which I am obsessed with.
Yeah.
And so it's so cool that you just happen to fall on a tarot card deck and go, I think this is for me. Fall's here, and you know what that means? It's layering season. Bombas makes it easy with socks, tees, and underwear that feel good and do good because every item purchased gives essential clothing to someone who needs it. So, did you know that socks, tees, and underwear are the 3 most requested items in a homeless shelter? And when you buy yours from Bombas, you're also giving one to someone who needs it. I love when brands do this. 1 item purchase equals 1 donated. How cool is that? The Bomba socks I'm actually wearing right now. So comfortable. I'm talking no annoying toe seams. You don't know how annoying they are till you don't have them. Have you ever had your sock get all like messed up in your shoe and you can feel the seam on the side of your foot? I don't know why it drives me nuts, but I have, and I've never again, okay? Never. Plus they're super soft, cozy, and who doesn't like a cozy sock? Also, with the holidays around the corner, these are the exact kind of holiday gifts I like to give. Cozy, comfortable, practical, and for you lazy little gift wrappers out there like me, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. It's a lot of work. So the best part is they come in a beautifully designed box, so you don't even have to wrap. So what are you waiting for? Go to bombas.com/Vine and use code VINE for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/Vine. Use code VINE at checkout. Pumpkin spice lattes, freshly picked apples, terrible BO. Okay, let's face it, summer isn't the only time we get body odor. We can get just as smelly under our favorite fall sweaters, and that's why I'm excited to tell you about Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. So as you know, I'm always on the go, whether I'm traveling all day, podcasting all day, working, dancing. I love that I'm not a stinky McGee. Nothing is worse than worrying about your body odor, and I can use it anywhere on my body, from my pits to the tits and all the way down to my lady bits. Lumi deodorant was created by an OBGYN who discovered that odor isn't just an underarm thing. It's an all over thing. So she developed Lumi, a pH optimized deodorant that's clinically proven to control odor everywhere for up to 72 hours, you guys. That's 3 days. If you're a new customer, their starter pack is perfect to try a few different items. It comes with solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. I actually love the deodorant wipes. And free shipping. And as a special offer for the Vinos, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code VINE at LumiDeodorant.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit LumiDeodorant.com and use code VINE.
I remember the first time, and this is why I always say, like, just do it, just try it, just see what comes from it. Like, if it's not what leads you to the thing that you want, it's going to be a door opener that will lead you to another door that will open, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, just follow your gut and do it. And, like, the first time I ever did readings on Instagram, I did all 12 signs at once on Instagram live. And I was sweating my ass off. It was like 2.5 hours of me being like, ugh. I was so nervous. And I remember shutting it off and being like, oh my God, I'm a mess.
Drained.
Like, that was terrible. I'm exhausted. Like, I don't even think people were interested. And the next day I woke up and there was like 1,200 views and like 150 comments or something. And at that time I only had like 1,000 followers. And people were like, this is so accurate and and I was like, wait a minute, what the just happened? So then I started doing it, and it's like, then from there, just the skill also developed. I became way more comfortable, and
Totally.
yeah, so it just kind of like took on a life of its own.
I
But
love that.
it's crazy.
I've always like, I wish I could be on the level that you're on with it, because
With tarot?
No, with astrology. Well, with everything,
with whatever,
actually,
yeah.
all of it, because I'm just so fascinated by it. It does something to my whole body. Like, I feel
Yeah.
when people, I went to this lady recently in LA, and when she just is even turning over those cards, like, my body feels different.
It's such an extension of you too. And like, as you're able to start exploring these deeper levels of like your psyche and your traumas and your hopes and fears and like all of these things, it starts illuminating all these like cracks.
Yeah.
And I think that even if it's something that you don't want to hear, it's like, if it's gonna rain, I'm gonna tell you to bring an umbrella. You know,
Right,
it's like, this is just gonna help you prepare.
Yes.
And the best thing is that like, now you're aware, and the worst thing is now you're aware. And
Right.
it's like,
I want to know how you feel about TikToks, where, you know how sometimes they come up, it happens to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like, if this is no accident that you've come across this TikTok, like, this is for you. Is that true?
yeah, so yes and no. Like, I think we're living in a time where people know that that is an attention grabber,
Right.
so they do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that kind of throws me off. However, there is definitely something to be said about you synchronistically coming across information that is helpful and does support you on your journey. So yes, but like, now with just YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everything being so like overwhelmed with like, you know, psychics and readers, and then like fake psychics and fake readers and fake astrologers, but real astrologers. Like, it's such a mixed bag that I think everybody's just going to be like, if you find this message, it's for you. And it's like, you know how many messages I find every day? It's like, but I think you do also need to just feel into like, oh, is there something about this person that like is like, it's so weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's like when you meet somebody for the first time and there's like that soul recognition. It's usually in the left eye, which is, you know, said to be tied to the soul. And it's like, the left eye is like, oh, wow, like, I see you and you see me, and like, that is a recognition on a higher level, and we're now manifesting in front of each other. Like, we need to explore this. And sometimes we confuse that with like a soulmate or a twin flame, or this is a great connection. And like, I've had that, and then I've gone through the experience, and they have been some of the like quote unquote worst, you know, vengeful, angry people that have done like crazy shit that like, in the end, those were the biggest teachers for me. And those were the people that helped me get through another level of my own journey and whatever. So like, that's where I was recognizing it, is that I was like, oh, you're a teacher for me.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, 10% of the time, those teachers are like beautiful and lovely, and they come in this little package, and you're just, and you make love to them, and you're having a great experience. And then like, the other, you know, 80-90% is just like, this is going to be a challenge, or this is not going to go the way I think it's going to go. And so I think also that's on us to not like project onto people like, oh, I see you, you see me, we recognize each other on a soul level, and like, that must mean that you're my man, that must mean that you're my everything, and like, now I'm going to put all my hopes and dreams on you, and then it creates this whole thing, you know? So like, yeah, I think to bring it back to like the TikTok thing is like, if you're scrolling and you see somebody that you're like, oh, there actually is something that I really do feel drawn to about this person.
Right.
Then yeah, like, listen. But then it always comes back to like your own self-empowerment. Like, is what they're giving you something you're just going to take and run with?
Right.
Or are you going to digest that and say like, this actually isn't my message?
Right.
Because like, even for me, like, I'm talking to, I mean, across all platforms, over 1 million people. And it's like, if we are doing readings for 1 million people, every single month, you're not going to be like, every point is for me, you know? And it's like, there's so many people watching. So it is a mixed bag. So it always comes down to like us needing to filter through that information regardless. And that's just more empowering for ourselves too.
I love that answer. I really love that answer. That's kind of how I was taking it, because so many times, if it wasn't for me, I'd just keep scrolling, but sometimes it would really hit, and I would be like, holy shit, I was meant to see that. And that is validating.
Totally. Yeah, I just got chills. Like, yeah, and you know when it like, when it lands, it's either something that you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that. It's like, okay, trigger. So like, that is for you.
Right.
Or I find like indifference or like neutrality is when you're just like, this isn't really for me.
Right.
But when there's like a charge behind it, or when there's like a hope, or there's like an expansion or a contraction, it's probably for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And we're both Geminis.
Oh, what? I didn't know that.
I'm Gemini, but when's your birthday?
My birthday is 6/6, so June 6th. Yeah. When's yours?
I'm 6/19.
Oh, you're like a cusp Gemini Cancer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that explains the beautiful home.
Really?
Yeah, Cancer is such like, this room is so Gemini Cancer cusp because it's like we have all the technology, we have all the communication happening, we have like the streaming, and then we've also got like the cozy lush. Like everyone thinks that Taurus and Libra, because they're ruled by Venus, is like so lush, and they are, but also like Cancer is like, oh my God, Cancer is like such a diva. They want like the softest, the best quality. They want to feel at home and cozy. So like this whole room is like very Gemini Cancer. Yeah, I love that.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if I was to be listening to you talk about Gemini,
right?
But then you also move on to Cancer. Should I listen to both and combine them?
Yeah.
Does cusp really like?
It does, because like nothing in this world is like stagnant and stuck, right? Everything is fluid. So like when you look at a cusp energy or somebody who's born in like, it's called the third decan, which is, so that slice of Gemini, for example, has 3 slices inside of it.
Okay.
So there's the first slice, which is the first decan, the second decan, and the third decan.
Okay.
And then the next one, Cancer, also has 3 slices in that slice.
Okay.
First decan, second decan, third decan. So when you look at anybody, this is how I see it. When you look at anybody who falls in the first or the third decan, which is not that middle slice, it's the 2 outside slices. Those 2 outside slices blend with the other outside slices of the next one. You know what I mean? So when you're in a cusp, you're sort of in that last chunk of the sign, and that last chunk of the sign blends into the next chunk of the next sign.
Got it.
So there is an overlap in energy because, again, everything is fluid.
Yeah.
So like me, I'm 6/6, which is June 6th. I'm like dead smack in the middle.
Right.
I am second decan.
Yeah.
I'm the middle slice of Gemini. I'm like Gemini energy.
Yeah.
But you being at the 19th, you're in that last end of it, right? So that last end overlaps with the next one. So yeah, you have that Cancerian, again, like I said, the home, the lush, and like we could look at your chart and see sort of like where your Venus is, where your Mercury is, where your Mars is, your rising, because all of these elements are going to play. Venus is going to be more love. Mars is going to be what you sort of fight for and protect and how you take action.
Yeah.
Rising is like what you're moving through.
Yeah.
Sun is how you present and how people see you. The moon is how you process your emotions. And it's like, so it all paints this picture. But if you are a cusper, I would call it, which is like, being around maybe the 18th-ish, 18th to the 19th up until like the 24th.
Yeah.
Like within that sort of week span.
Yeah.
I think, if your birthday falls there, you're pretty much overlapping with something.
I totally, like, when I know everything I know about Gemini and Cancer, I'm like, that is me.
Yeah.
I want to say my moon is Cancer.
Mine too.
Really?
Yeah.
And my sun's Gemini.
Okay, yeah, same. Oh, wait, are we twins?
Oh,
What's your rising?
It says Gemini, Cancer, Cancer.
Your ascendant is Cancer also?
Yeah.
Gemini sun. Yeah. So you're double Cancer. Okay, again, so that explains the house and everything. Yeah, for sure. But Cancer energy is so beautiful because and I have like my Venus, my Chiron, my progressed sun, my Mars, and my moon are all in Cancer. So like I really connect with the Cancerian energy, which is like, it's a cardinal water sign, so we are so led by our emotions. We are so, like, when we feel something, it's like, it takes us an extra second to be like, wait a second, I need to, like, maybe not act on this.
Yes.
Because it's like, as soon as it comes up, it's like this tidal wave, like a tsunami, right? Like a tsunami is that cardinal water. Cardinal is like leadership, taking action, moving forward, driving forces. So, like, this cardinal water, or any cardinal energies in general, which is going to be Libra, Cancer, Aries, and Capricorn. Those signs, especially right now, because they're being activated with the North Node and the South Node, which we can talk about in a minute. That. Yeah. But like those signs are all the leaders, the starters, the initiators. So any of those signs, when they feel something, it's like they want to act. They want to do.
Yeah.
But then because the Cancerian energy, Cancers, are ruled by water, it's so emotional for us.
It's a lot.
We also take everything so personally. Like, it's crazy. If somebody will like, it'll have nothing to do with me, and they'll like leave the room, and I'll just be like, fuck that person. Like, they just said that to me. And like, somebody will be like, what are you talking about? That had nothing to do with you. I'm like, if they hate me, I know they hate me. It's just like, we take everything so personally. But we also like love the deepest. We like infuse ourselves with, like, Pisces does this too, where it's just like, we completely intertwine. So then for us to like detach from people or detach from situations, and we're so nostalgic. Or we're so like, I was crying, but I didn't cry hard enough, so I'm going to listen to the song again. It's like, that's such Cancer energy.
I do that.
No, babe, same.
I literally do that. This episode of Off the Vine is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, I know I'm not alone on this, so let me ask you, do you ever feel like your brain is getting in its own way? Like, hello, you're supposed to be on my team, brain. And you know what you should do and what's good for you, but you just can't do it. Why is that? Why do we do that to ourselves? Well, anyways, therapy helps you figure out what is holding you back so you can work on yourself instead of against yourself. Now, everyone knows how much I love therapy. I've been going for, over 10 years now, but it's crazy how much you can learn about yourself every single time, like new aha unlocked moments and new coping skills where you need to set boundaries and just how to become a better version of yourself. And everyone can benefit from therapy. Literally every single person. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time, no additional charge, to make sure you find the right fit for you. Sometimes it takes a couple tries. You got to be patient. So make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/vine today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/vine. Okay, ladies, there's nothing worse than suffering with an uncomfortable bra. Okay, is there anyone who is like me with a few old bras that had the underwire sticking out the side, like poking your side boob? Listen, get rid of those bras, please. Thankfully, Honeylove has revolutionized the bra game. Upgrade from traditional bras that use uncomfortable underwire and bulky fabrics that trap heat. Honeylove's bras feature supportive bonding that eliminates the need for underwire without sacrificing lift, okay? For a limited time only, you can get Honeylove on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/vine. Support our show and check them out at honeylove.com/vine. I got their crossover bra. It is so comfortable. It has this mesh detailing, which I think adds like a little touch of sexy. Plus, they're made with fabric that's so soft, it feels like a second skin almost. You'll immediately feel and see the difference, okay? It's so next level comfortable, you'll forget you're wearing it. Honeylove has you covered for the everyday look, workouts, weddings, and more. Treat yourself to the best bra on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/vine. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/vine. After you purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. It's time to ditch the underwire for good, thanks to Honeylove. Off the Vine is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Now, most of you listening right now, you're multitasking, you little go-getters. While you're listening to me talk, you're probably driving, cleaning, exercising, maybe grocery shopping. But if you are not in some kind of moving vehicle, there is something else you can be doing right now, and that's getting an auto quote from Progressive Insurance. Super easy. You can save money by doing it from your own phone. And drivers who save by switching to Progressive save nearly $750 on average. And auto customers qualify for an average of 7 different discounts. So discounts for having multiple vehicles on your policy, being a homeowner, and more. So just like your favorite podcast, Progressive will be with you 24/7, 365 days a year, so you're protected no matter what. Multitask right now. Quote your car insurance at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National average 12-month savings, $744 by new customers. Surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. I try and see it as like that's just who I am, but sometimes I do feel like I'm overly sensitive.
You are.
And so do I just own that?
Yeah, because like that works really well for us when we are in a space of like caretaking, or like you are probably the type of person who like knows what that person needs before they even know what they need. And then you can start to like help them and nurture them and whatever, because again, that Cancer energy and any of the water signs are very nurturing. It's very like motherly energy, especially for Cancer. I'm so over like fighting myself for being just who I am naturally. And I've been in enough relationships where people are like, you're too sensitive, or you're too this, or you're too that. And I'm just like, if I'm too much, then bye. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, maybe you're not enough, and maybe your shit you're projecting onto me, because like I'm so like confident and comfortable in who I am, and I just like flow, and like I don't like, I just kind of recently started hanging out with this guy, and like, I don't really know where it's gonna go, and he lives somewhere else and whatever, but like, we had such a beautiful like week together, and I was just, at first I was like, oh, like, I shouldn't hold his hand, like, I should create some boundary here, because like, I don't want to come off too strong. And then like, literally day 2, I was like, this, like, I'm so lovey-dovey, like, we're driving in my car, I'm like, it was like we're an old married couple. I'm literally like holding his hand, like, everything that I want to do. You just like
let it happen.
Yeah, and it was beautiful, and he didn't care. He wasn't like weird about it. He
probably loved it.
Yeah, he was like, this is great. Like, and now we're cool. I don't know where that's gonna go. And like, that's the other thing. I'm so over like projecting my like hopes and fears and insecurities and creating a story about like where this could go and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm just like not attached to any outcome anymore.
My therapist told me the other day something that I was like, wow, that is so true. She goes, she goes, you have this confidence and you know who you are because you've worked on yourself so much. She goes, but the second you doubt yourself, you let all fears creep in and you change your own story.
We also are scared of like stepping into our power fully, and like out of fear that like, if we show up, if we're strong, if we're big, if we're loud, like, are we going to be attacked, ridiculed, taken down? And then there's this whole other level of like, I don't want to lean into the good that I'm creating and to fully accept it and to like really live my life in that like highest expression, because like, what if I lose it all? What if the other shoe drops? And it's like, we would rather self-sabotage literally as a way of protecting ourselves from losing what we think we could lose if we were to get it in the first place.
Damn. Why are we like that?
I know. I don't know why. It's conditioning, programming, fear, it's insecurity. Like, there's a lot of reasons why.
I'm really working on it. I think that's all you can do, right?
Yeah, it's like, girl.
Yeah.
Save me. Yeah, literally.
I want to talk to you about the moon, because I feel such a powerful connection to the moon, and I like my period happens around it.
For sure does, yeah.
Oh, okay.
As it should.
Really?
Well, okay, sorry. Like, yeah, because there's going to be a bunch of women that's like, mine doesn't. It isn't. Like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has their own cycle.
Yeah.
But yes, I know a lot of highly intuitive energy workers and psychic people and just regular people who are also very intuitive. And yeah, they are very synced up with that cycle.
Yeah.
Like, my best friend, like, almost like clockwork, like, ding, full moon, period drops. It's like crazy.
Alicia and I both. I'll be like, why is my period early? And why am I feeling this way? And then I'm like, oh, it's a full moon. Holy shit, it happened again. Like, it's crazy. Why is the moon so powerful?
Honestly, the moon, there's so much like, this is going to get all like conspiracy theory and like woo-woo a little bit. But
I love
like,
it.
there is so much weird talk about the moon being like not entirely real. Also, this whole other conversation, which like, I believe the moon is real. I believe it is a rock. I believe it is really floating there. Like, it's real. We can see it. Absolutely. But then there's this whole other conversation about it being quote unquote like placed there. And I think when people talk about that, I think it gets misconstrued. I think that, you know, millions of years ago or whatever the timeline was, is like when Earth was being established and these higher energies were at play and aliens and entities and other beings were, you know, creating this space, so to speak, because this is actually a school where we all can come and learn and engage, right? And aliens are real. Go watch the US whatever, like, they finally announced it, but it's like, we've known that forever. Like, aliens are real. There are other beings, there are other entities. And the word entity is triggering and scary. It just means like something that is there that you can't see. It's like a form of energy, whatever, you know what I mean? So there are high vibrational entities also. But the moon, I believe, I think maybe something somewhere did place it into our space and it became part of our orbit. I don't know if it was like always necessarily there, but like part of the energy that bounces off of it and reflects off of it, and like part of just, I mean, even the tides, like if you think about the power that it has over the ocean, and like our bodies are what, 70-80% water. It's like, of course the moon is bringing our emotions up. Of course we're tied to that cycle. And it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to like track the cycles of our life and where the new moons are, where the full moons are, where the eclipses are. And this is again like what I teach, and this is why I do the workshops, so that like for the new moon, this is what we're talking about. During this new moon, this is a new moon in Leo. So this is about like standing in your power, taking your power back. This is about speaking your truth and living from the heart and expressing yourself and being creative. And like this new moon is also happening with Venus retrograde in Leo. And this is the real new moon that we just had like a month ago or whenever. Like, all of that energy means something. That is a chart in the sky that is just telling you what type of energy you are working with. And to bring it back to the moon being so powerful, like if the moon is powerful enough to move the ocean and to bring up energy in our body and the emotions and just all the processing that we do while working with the moon, like why would Mars or Mercury or any of the other huge celestial bodies in our solar system, why would those also not have an effect on us? Like what, just the moon has an effect, but nothing else?
Right.
Just the sun has an effect, but nothing else. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, the moon is, and again, I think there's another place in time we can dive into all the like weird things around the moon, but it is powerful. It's a great point of introspection and literal reflection back to us. And I think it's just like an amazing gift that has been placed right in front of us. And this is the other thing, like there are so many things that are right in front of us that we just don't see because it's so simple and we want to overcomplicate everything. And it's like, no, it really is as simple as like the moon is full in Pisces. So like, what do you do to escape? What do you do to run away? What do you do to fantasize? Or how can you be more fluid and flexible in your life? And that's the full moon that we're moving into.
It's going to be the fall equinox. Is that what it is? What does that mean?
So we will have the equinox happening around the time of this podcast coming out. And the equinox is equal day and equal night. It doesn't actually happen on that exact day, but it's around this time. And again, it's reminding us of the balance. It's reminding us of the simplicity of like life being like half shadow, half light. It's all of us. Like you can't have one with the other. And when you look at the northern hemisphere, we are now moving into fall. So at the equinox, we have this opportunity to sort of like reflect on the seasons that we just moved through, which was spring and then summer, right? So the spring is like we're planting seeds, we're initiating things, we're sparking things. This is that cardinal energy. It starts with Aries. Like I said before, Aries is a cardinal sign. So Aries is the initiator of spring. And this is like we're planting seeds, we're getting downloads. We're like really trying to figure out what we want to build. And then we move into the summer solstice, which is the longest day in the northern hemisphere, which reminds us of all of our light and our opportunities to expand. And we get to look around and we get to see what are we growing? What is blooming in front of us? And then we move through the summer as things really come to realization. So in that first season of spring, when we're thinking, I want to change my job, or I love this person, or I want to do this project, or I want to start this new exercise or whatever, that's a time for us to be really building or to be navigating a new chapter in that, understanding where this is going and leaning into creating it. And then once we get into summer, it's kind of like, okay, now you've been doing this for 90 days. Take the next 90 days to see how those things are blooming and like what needs to now be weeded, what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be adjusted. Like there's a lot of illumination happening. And then at the end of the summer season, we are in Virgo season, and Virgo is all about digestion and all about like really understanding what needs to stay and what needs to go. Because what happens next is the fall equinox. So when we move into
what we're moving into right now.
Which is where we are now when this podcast comes out. Yeah. So the fall equinox is like, okay, I planted these seeds. The narratives have changed. My life has been changing in certain ways through the spring. Through the summer, I was seeing what has come to fruition, what was blooming, the things that I do want to keep, the things that I'm aware of that I maybe need to release, etc. And then in that last chunk with Virgo season, it's like, okay, I really need to start like figuring out where all these pieces go because there's so many pieces up in the air, and right now we're experiencing so many planets in retrograde, so there's a lot of introspection, reflection, reassessment, realignment, reimagination. It's all the RE words, right? So as we leave that Virgo season, it's like, okay, what are the things that I no longer want to digest? What are the things that I no longer want to be eating? What are the things I don't want to be watching? What do I not want to be listening to? Who should I not be around? And what are the things that are working for me? And how do I create small changes every day to integrate more of these good things in my life? Because Virgo is all about detail and process. So it's like, I can build a new life. It's just going to be a process, and I'm willing to do that. So then that brings us to now, which is the equinox. And the equinox says, okay, we've seen all of this. I've distilled all of this information down, and I need to just take a minute to reflect on like, all of the shadow aspects that were coming up, which is our fears, our insecurities, our sadness, like our, you know, quote unquote lower vibrational expressions of self, all those things that have been coming up, they brought me to this moment.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, maybe I was super insecure, and because I was insecure, I said something, and then because I said something, that person did something, and then that triggered a whole event, and now I'm here. But at the end of the day, that shadow is equal to the light that I have inside. So that's actually illuminating all of the beautiful inner information and wisdom that I need to move forward. So as we move through the fall equinox, all the colors start to change, and we start to say like, okay, I'm going to start releasing these things. Like, I'm ready to let these go. Like, all of the leaves start to fall. I'm ready to release, right?
Oh,
I'm going to,
cool.
so the fall season is now like about honoring where we've been, what we've gone through, and just letting all of that shit go so that we can actually move into the winter solstice, which is, again, the darkest night, the longest night. It's the darkest time. And that is all about, okay, now I've planted the seeds. I saw where it got me. I've released all this shit. And now I need to like recluse. Now I need to just like be with just me. And I need to just process, and I need to grieve, and I need to just like, I feel like I could cry just talking about it. I need to just like let go of like the potential, let go of the hopes and the dreams, and let go of like the blessings and the beautiful things that did come from this. But like, I don't need this for my next chapter. I don't need this for this next version of me. And maybe some of these things were like habits or protective mechanisms that we establish, or whatever it is, stories that we believe, this identity that we carry for so long. And it's like, as we get into the winter, which is going to be next in the northern hemisphere, is it like, I can mourn the loss of these parts of me. Like, it's fine to say goodbye to the person I had to be when I was going through the battle, but like, I'm through the battle now, and I need to release that. Maybe I need to release these connections. Maybe I need to release these behaviors, these tendencies, these whatever, you know, and then we come back to spring and we get to start all over again.
What a cool and beautiful perspective you must have on so many different literal seasons of your life.
Yeah, I think I'm also, again, I'm a Gemini, so I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. Like,
well, that's why we get to listen to you and learn from you and follow you on all of your platforms, because you are so knowledgeable and you are so good at explaining it too. And like, even just hearing you say, I'm so locked in, just going, yeah, that all makes so much sense. And it's helpful for people to just know and go through these seasons knowing that we're all going through it together in different ways.
Yeah, no, that I think is like the main takeaway, is like, just because I'm talking about it doesn't mean that I'm like not part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I too am a shit show. Like, I too am just trying to figure out this human experience.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. And when I start speaking like that, it really is like, I work with a lot of different guides on the other side. Like, part of that is just channeled messages coming through me, and not necessarily so like cool. me and my wisdom. You know what I mean? So it's like, it is a mixed
so cool.
bag.
That's so cool.
But yeah, and I do think it's important just for anybody who's in like the southern hemisphere who's listening to this, is that like, they are going through the opposite cycle, because at the equinox, when we go into the fall equinox, they go into the spring equinox. Right? So just as, again, another take-home message, it's like, no matter where you are and what is going on, part of this polarized experience is meant to be multifaceted.
Yeah.
And like, wherever you are, even if you're in that winter season, if it's like the darkest it's ever felt, like, you know, literally on the other side of the world, it's the longest day, it's the brightest light. So it's like, again, we're all sharing space where like, you can tap into any of those elements at all times. But yeah, depending on your location, what you're personally going through, like, of course, we're always in our own internal process. But like, it's just cool that regardless of where you are, there's always one, and then there's always the opposite. You know, it's like, and that goes with everything. There's always an equal and opposite reaction and action. So I do something equal will happen, and the opposite will happen somewhere else, and it'll come back karmically to balance itself out. So yeah, this season is all about balance, slowing down, noticing that the colors are changing. So you'll start seeing people differently. You'll start seeing yourself differently. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, while those changes are taking place, and we get to still tap into that southern hemisphere spring equinox as well, right? Because we're in the fall equinox, they're in the spring equinox. So as we see the colors change, as we see that people are shifting, that we are shifting, we can still call in the other side of that coin and say, I'm noticing that these things are changing. And because of that, spring equinox, I'm going to plant new seeds and I'm going to take new action. It's not just a time to just like sit back for fall and winter, 6 months you do nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
more about, for us right now, shifting, noticing, and releasing. And if we want to integrate planting new seeds for better habits and better routines and stuff like that, we can also do that because on the other side of the coin, that is what's happening. So we can access both. Yeah.
Wow, it's just, life is so deep.
I know, it's
You know,
crazy.
like, it is. You said shifting, and it made me remember that I wanted to ask you what a node shift was.
Right. So, okay, I have an entire workshop that's like a little bit over an hour for this.
People listening can go take your workshops.
Absolutely, yes. Everything that I do is on my website. So we've got workshops for the new moon and the full moon. Those ones are pay what you can.
Yeah.
So they're just donation based.
That's cool.
I'm using American Sign Language and English, so they're totally accessible. And then I have seasonal workshops that's like Virgo season, Cancer season, Gemini season. And those ones are, I think, $22. And then we have some other events and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on there that you can watch anytime. The recordings are always available. They come with workbooks. Like, they're great. But the nodes, and again, I have an entire hour-long discussion about this because there's so much to talk about. But this is probably one of the most important events of the year. This is an 18-month cycle, more or less. And the nodes are the points in the sky where the eclipses happen. So the north node is where we have eclipses, and the south node is where we have eclipses. The north node represents the direction of fate and destiny and what we're moving into, where we need to call in our power and where we need to step into ourselves in new ways. And the north node is now in Aries. So that is a strong cardinal fire sign. This is the sign that starts spring, like I said earlier. So this is a sign of initiation. Yeah. This is a sign of standing in your power, showing up. Like, if you think of Aries energy, when a baby is born and it comes out and it screams, that is Aries energy. It's like the scream of like, I'm here and I'm allowed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. So because of that, I'm going to take up space.
Yeah.
Now, low vibrational Aries, expression would be like taking up too much space. So like, watch yourself, or being too hard-headed, or being really short-fused and aggressive and whatever. So like, we could have a tendency to experience some of that. So just watch that. But the north node in Aries is asking us to stand in our power in new ways, initiate new things. And it really is tied to like our identity, like who we are and how we show up and who we want to be. So like, who the do you want to be? And like, fake it until you make it. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that sounds crazy to some people and it's easier said than done, but like, if you say every day, like, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, then it's like, eventually that you're going to start believing that. You're going to shift that in your energy field. You're going to start attracting it. You're going to see opportunities to bring you towards making $1 million. And that's how you co-create with the universe. So it's like, this is all about you initiating a new version of yourself and sort of creating a new character in your story. So we have 18 months to do that. The south node is in Libra. The south node in Libra is like kind of showing us where things have been out of balance too much and where we need to bring balance back into our life. And it's also showing us that by us standing in our power in new ways, in that Aries energy, we need to relate to the world around us in a different way. And the south node is where we've come from. The south node is these are both karmic points. So these are points tied to your karmic evolution. So the south node in Libra is like what we've already learned, what we've already learned about relationships, what we've already learned about community, what we've already learned about how we relate to the world around us, how we look at the things we value, the things we spend our money on. What are our values? What is our value system even? Like, not just that I value a nice car, but like my inner values. Like, I need somebody who doesn't talk shit behind my back. Like, I need somebody who's going to stand up and let me, hold their hand in the car and not be weird by it. And it's like, and I've been in relationships where I am too much, or I say too much, or I do too much. And that doesn't work for me. Yeah. So I'm going to take that knowledge of how I used to relate, which is the south node in Libra. I'm going to take that knowledge, I'm going to take my experience, and I'm being called to apply it to the north node, which is I'm going to use all of that information and experience to recreate my new character.
And stand in that truth.
Exactly. And stand in my real truth with all the things that I learned about myself so that I can move forward in a new way. Because, and this is going to be hard for some people to accept, but like, if you're fighting with your boss, your partner, if you have insecurities at a job, if you hate your mailman, like all of those things, all of those people, all of that is literally only a reflection of your internal world.
Yes.
All of those things are aspects of yourself that you hate, that you haven't integrated, that you want to push away, so like as soon as you realize, oh my God, everything here is a reflection of me and my own relationship to myself, then you can start using those trigger points. You can start using that information to then navigate the internal healing and adjustments and acceptance that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that, again, is South Node in Libra because it's all relationships, right? And then we say, I'm not going to continue to self-sacrifice for people. I'm not going to continue to play small so other people can feel comfortable around me. Just because you knew me when I had less power and you want me to stay in a role of letting you continue to take advantage of me, like what? If I now show up differently, that makes you uncomfortable? Well, you anyways. Like,
because they don't have the ability to grow and evolve the way that you have, so
they do, but they just don't want to tap into it.
Yes, they don't want to tap into it.
And they also don't want you to stand in your power in a way that makes them feel either obsolete or in a way that makes them feel powerless. And this is a big issue that a lot of people have with their parents, for example, which is why holidays are so hard for a lot of people. And I send so much love to everybody who goes through this. But it's like your parents want to remember the version of you that they had the most power over. Unless your parents are healthy and they're okay with you growing and expanding and all those things. Your best friend wants to remember you, or your old acquaintances want to remember you as the party girl, party boy who drinks all day because they still drink all day. And because you've chosen to create a different life for yourself. And neither of them are good or bad. That's the other thing. There's no good or bad. You can drink all day. And if that's what you're being called to do and that's your path, like, I don't recommend it. But like, then like, sure. Like, then that's your path. Like, whatever. There's no good or bad. There's different learning, right? And like, if you, and you never notice this as much as you do when you like move away and then you come back, or you see people that you haven't seen in 5 years, and you're like, people are like, oh my God, they have $2 shots. And you're like, oh my God, I'm not in a place where $2 shots excite me, girl. Like, I wouldn't drink it anyways. I want like top shelf shit. And like, second thing is like, I'm not doing shots on a Wednesday. You know, it's like, what are we doing here? So like, when you see, that sort of expression taking place, it's great because it's showing you how much you've grown and adjusted. But then it makes you feel sad and lonely and isolated because you feel like you no longer connect with these people. But maybe you've known them for a long time, so you want to, and it's fine. But then if you start to say like, oh, I don't actually want to drink, or I don't want to do this, you'll watch them start to calculate, and they'll start to feel discomfort because they're sitting there realizing, shit, should I not be doing this? And then like, they'll either want you to meet them at their level, to engage in that so that they don't need to excuse it, or you maybe never talk to them again. Like maybe you just, there's very clear distance that gets established because they don't want you mirroring back to them where they haven't grown yet. And it's like, these are the types of things where like the South Node is going to be showing us how much we've learned and how much we've grown in all of our relationships and with business and work. And like, you need more money, then get more money, bitch. Go out and ask for more money. Like, they're literally printing money in the States. You know what I mean? It's like, money is endless. And like, that's a whole other conversation we can have on another podcast about just like scarcity mindset. But
I'm already thinking about the next podcast. I was like, I want a full podcast on the moon, and I want a full podcast on that.
We could definitely arrange that.
But next time I'm coming to you.
Oh, please. Portugal's amazing. And my new space, I'm opening the most beautiful, like, $1 million location of just, like, this huge healing space. And we can shoot there. We're getting them to organize. It's like a production studio, too. Actually, I want to put some of your wine in there at some point.
Yes. Because we do. Oh, my gosh. Seasonal. I would love that.
We changed every season, we change, like, the
I need
wine
to come
person.
there.
So please come.
And then we'll do a whole other podcast on all these things.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, speaking of doing another podcast, we had to make this bad boy a two-parter. You put two Gemini Cancer queens in a room and they just don't stop talking. Okay, sheesh. So we will continue this conversation on grape therapy this week. We get deep into manifesting, co-creating, if you will, like how to do it, where to start, how it works, the whole shebang. And then my favorite part, Chris pulls tarot cards for the collective group. So trust me, you'll want to hear these messages. They'll resonate with you in some way. I promise. He does not sugarcoat it for us, and it's exactly what I needed to hear. So look forward to that. I'm Kaitlyn Bristowe. I'll see you next Tuesday. See you next